Hello and welcome back, peeps. It might look a little different here, and that's mainly because I accidentally ripped my green screen off of the ceiling.
Let's grab the green screen. Whoa, ho, ho. Not like that.
Whoops. Anyways, arguably the number 2 most used OBS plugins that I actually use on my stream and when I'm creating or doing anything else are the plugins called Stream Effects and Move Transition. Today we're going to be covering that second one, which will be the Move Transition plugin. This allows you to actually take sources inside of OBS and move them around and shift them and do a lot of really interesting animations inside of OBS without always having to use stinger transitions to rely on like moving between scenes or moving between what you want on the screen and what you don't. And I'm going to show you how easy it can be to use all this. Now I'll be demonstrating all of this using a program called Touch Portal, and that's just simply, it's a Stream Deck equivalent. So you can do everything that I'm doing here in Touch Portal. You can do this in Stream Deck, and you can also do this in Leorin board. I'm using Touch Portal as that's just what I've used for a very long time, and I rather like it. Let's go ahead and get into it. The first plugin that we're going to need is the Move Transition plugin that's made by Exceldro. Now, this is a really great plugin in a lot of instances, and you'll see why here in a little bit. So to download this, all you're going to have to do is just go over to the downloads, click this, and then I typically download the zip files because I find that they're easy to install. So go ahead and click the download on the zip folder. And then the second plugin we'll need is just a way to control OBS, which in our case is the OBS WebSocket. Now in this case here, we're using 4.9.1. So once you're here in the release section, go ahead and scroll on down until you find the downloads. And again, I usually download the zip files. Once you have everything downloaded, go ahead and unzip them and you'll get just your typical folders like this. Go ahead and open up the Move Transition folder. Copy the contents, then navigate to wherever you have your OBS install at. For me, I use portable installs of this, but if you use your C drive one, it's the same process. Go ahead and open up the very first folder, which is the top level folder. So you'll see like bin, config, data, plugins, and then go ahead and paste it right into this folder. Any of the files that you'll have will go right into where they need to go here. Now for me, I already have the plugin installed, so it's gonna ask if I wanna replace it. No, because I already have it installed, right? So that installs the entirety of the Move Transition plugin. Then go ahead and grab the WebSocket one. Again, copy the contents of that, and then paste it directly inside of, again, the same exact place that we did the other one. That installs both of those, and we're pretty much already ready to go ahead and load up our OBS. So now I'm inside a completely blank OBS. Nothing's been done to this. There's nothing here with this. The only thing I did for the WebSocket server was make sure I didn't have a password set up so that Touch Portal could just automatically connect. If you ever need to actually set the password for your WebSocket, if you go up here to this cogwheel and go to OBS, right here you'll see your IP, mine's just localhost. The WebSocket port is 4444, and then you could actually set up the password there if you decide to use a password. Now we are going to be going over 3 examples with this Move Transition plugin. So let's go ahead and load up a webcam because we're actually going to talk about how to move its position around using this Move Transition plugin. So what I'll go ahead and do is go ahead and add up a source. I'm going to go ahead and call this just simply Facecam. Now once that's all up and running, I'm going to use NDI because that's how I get it from one OBS instance to the other, but yours would probably look like a Camlink 4K or something like that. Perfect, now that this webcam is actually inside of OBS here, let's go ahead and start messing with some of the positions of this webcam so we can save them essentially to recall here with the Move Transition plugin. So all I'm gonna do is just simply make this a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna put it up in the top left corner for a second. I'm gonna right click on the scene, go to Filters, hit the add button, and then down here we're gonna see a couple new ones. We're gonna see Move Source and Move Value. We're gonna focus on Move Source for the first 2 examples, and we're gonna start pulling in the Move Value for the last one. So with the Move Source, I'm gonna call this Facecam Top Left, because that's essentially what we're doing here. I'm gonna hit OK. Now once the filter is actually loaded up, you're gonna see a lot of stuff at the bottom here. We'll kind of go through it here. So for the source, this is the source that you wanna actually be able to move or capture the position of. And then the start delay is, when you go to basically activate this filter, do you want to have it delayed or do you want to have it instantaneously? We're going to leave it at 0 for now because I want it to happen instantaneously. The custom duration is essentially how long it takes for the filter to physically activate. And I'll show an example of this here. If I move my webcam someplace over on the other side of the screen here, and I go ahead and activate this filter, see how it's super snappy and it shoots over like that? And that's because it's currently running at 300 milliseconds. Now, if I make this 1500 milliseconds, now it takes 1.5 seconds and it's a nice smooth transition over. Now, if you noticed, it wasn't just like immediately starting and heading over, and that's because we have easing on. Ease in and ease out means that when it starts, it kind of slow ramps up, and then right before it ends, it ramps back down again. You can change this to anything else that you like. One of the ones that I find is actually kind of interesting to use is the bounce. So when you start this, it kind of wiggles and then wiggles out. That's a bit extreme, but like elastic will work pretty interesting as well. There's a lot of different easing functions you can use in this to create an effect that you'd like to have here. I'm gonna go back to cubic because I find that cubic seems to make a nice easy transition from the start to the finish there. Now down here we have what's called the transform, and this is actually what's grabbing the position of the source, the size of the source, and if there's any cropping applied to the source. For right now we don't have anything done with this, but we can. Now, most of the time you don't typically have a 16:9 webcam up top. You actually have, more of a square. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Alt and I'm gonna drag in my sides so that I'm more of a square so I can sit up here in this corner. And I'm not gonna put myself directly in the corner. I'm actually gonna bring myself down and over just a little bit so that way some of the gameplay can kind of sit behind me here. When I go ahead and hit Get Transform, all the numbers that are there are actually going to change a little bit. When I come back up over here, you can see that I'm in this nice little square. If I uncrop that and I move this over here, watch what happens when I go ahead and activate this filter. You're going to basically see the sides of this scrunch in, and I'm going to move to the top corner. So a really nice plugin to be able to do a lot of effects very quickly. Scrolling back down here into the visibility tabs, if you want to change visibility, like do you want it to show or hide itself as a transition happens, you can do it from here. Order is, I'll be honest, I've never used order for anything. Order might be if you need to maybe change the order in the sources. I'm not sure. If you do know, please let me know in the comments because I've never actually used it before. You can also fade out audio sources if you want to. And down here at the actions, this is where you can change how the triggering of this filter actually works. Essentially, if this is set to none, that means that when we click the eye icon or the toggle icon, this filter will automatically run and then it immediately turns back off, which is typically the best way that I have found for this to work. You can also, if you want to, on next move, you could reverse the action. So wherever this used to be, so I'll zoom back out here. Again, I'm gonna uncrop it here and I'm gonna put it in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if I go ahead and apply it, it'll go right back. So you can use this for something maybe you wanna have like come on the screen and then come back off. You could actually have an end delay. An end delay is back up here underneath the custom duration. So if you want this to stay up there in that corner for let's say a second before it reverses back down, when I go ahead and apply this, you can see I go up, I wait for about a second, and then I come back down. So that's how you can use this. So for what we're gonna do though, I want this to stay up in the corner, so we're gonna have nothing happening on the next move, and I just simply wanna go up to the top left corner. Bang. Now we're there. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this effect. And instead of calling this top left, I'm gonna call this top right. And I bet you can all guess what I'm probably gonna do. I'm gonna drag this all the way over. I'm gonna match it pretty closely to what it looked like on the other side there. And now remember, this is still using the transform from the top left. So all you have to do is scroll down to get transformation, click that, and now you have two of them. So now if I go top left, I go to the left side. If I click top right, I go to the right side. Now, if you click them too quickly, you actually saw that little kind of like hop that just happened right there. You have to make sure that the effect fully finishes before you click the next one. Otherwise you'll get kind of some hopping if I try and like bounce back and forth between them, because it gets a little confused on which one should be finishing. So if you write any scripts in your touch portal, Leorin board, whatever else, just make sure you give enough time for the action to fully finish before something else happens to the exact same source. Now what I'm gonna do is actually make a couple more of these, and I'm gonna make the camera position in the middles and at the bottom here. So I'll be right back. All right, and now I'm back. And now I have basically 6 filters here. And each one of these, all I did was I simply set the camera where I wanted it. I just duplicated the filter, and then I hit Get Transform. Now, if I go ahead and test this out, you can see I also made them a little quicker so I can kind of show them off here. I can position myself anywhere on the screen very quickly. Let's go ahead into Touch Portal and let's make buttons using these filters here so we can actually just click a button on our Touch Portal that activates all of these. So inside of Touch Portal here, what I'm gonna do is it's gonna be really easy. I'm just gonna simply call this one top left cam, so I know exactly where everything's at. What we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll down the left-hand side here to OBS, and because we set scene filters, we're gonna use, again, well, set scene filter. And because this one's just simply called scene, I'm gonna just call it scene because that's what we have there. But you can see here that we have all 6 of these filters. Now, again, we're using the top left cam, so I want the top left cam here. Once that's done, you can go ahead and hit save. And now we have a button on our Touch Portal. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click and hit copy button. I'm gonna paste that same button just below here. I'm gonna change this so that this is top right cam. And I'm gonna change the filter so that's top right cam and hit save. And I'm gonna basically do that for every one of these, right? I'm gonna paste the button. I'm gonna call this one mid left cam. And again, I'm gonna use mid left cam, save. And I'll see you in a second when I finish the last 3. Now we have all 6 camera positions built into our Touch Portal here. So if I go ahead and minimize this and we watch what's going on here, now when I tap the button on Touch Portal, you can see that I move around. And I'm just using an iPad to control this. You can kind of see that right in here. I just have them in the line right there. This also works on Android. And again, this is the same type of process if you wanted to use Leorin board on like an Android tablet, because I know Leorin board doesn't work with iOS yet, or the same thing can be done with a Stream Deck. So this is just kind of an example of something that's very quick and easy that you can use this amazing plugin for to throw yourself around. Quick little bonus tip for you. Sometimes it's nice to actually have a big cam. So like when people rage or whatever, you can kind of make yourself full screen real quick. So all I'm gonna do is just duplicate one of these, and I'm just gonna call this, this is gonna be called a big boy. This is called big boy cam. And on here, all I'm gonna do is grab this. I'm gonna uncrop it because I'd like to have the full size, the full big boy here. Once that's done, go ahead and hit get transformation, go back in the Touch Portal. I still have that button there, so I'm just gonna paste it. I'm just gonna call this big boy, and I'm gonna set it to big boy cam. Now, what that does is when I hit the top left one, you can see I'm small, but when I hit big boy, I'm a real big boy. So it's a really easy way if somebody comes and raids you can be like, oh my God, thank you so much for the raid, or whatever else the case is, right? It's a very quick and easy way. And it's just kind of a nice smooth transition to bring you up into this like large thing here. Let's go ahead and look at what I would call level 2, which is animating sources onto the screen from off the screen or from some other type of thing. I'm going to use a picture to show this particular one. I don't want to capture OBS with an OBS, right? I don't want to use like a desktop capture. So I'm just going to add an image, and I'm going to show you how to animate things on and off the screen. I don't know why I'm going to do this to myself, but I will. So here's a picture that we're gonna animate in and out, and this can be used for any type of a source. In this case, let's say you have something that happens on screen and you want chat to trigger something specific. Maybe it's a goofy face of you, like this, or something else, right? Here's a couple ways that you can animate this in and off and around the screen here. I'm gonna make sure that this is selected. I'm gonna hit Control E to bring up the Edit Transform panel. One of the things I want to change in here is change from the top left for the position alignment to center. What this is gonna help with is, let me center that up real quick, is when I'm moving this around and I want to scale this in and out, it's gonna kind of come from the center here versus trying to be positioned up on the left-hand side, the top left. So this just makes it a little cleaner when I'm going through this function here. I want this particular source to actually animate from nothing and get big when something happens. So what I can actually do here is, again, I'm gonna go ahead and right click on the scene. We're gonna go to filters, and what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna duplicate the big boy cam. I'm gonna call this goofy face. So that's pretty much what it is. And I'm gonna call this goofy face big, because this is gonna be the one, this is the size that I want it to be once the effect is done. So I'm gonna change the source to the testing image 1, which is the one we're looking at right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and get transformation. Now, when I actually click the button here to like activate it, nothing's gonna happen because it was originally here. But if I move it off screen and I click it, suddenly it comes into screen. Now we have an ability to move something from off the screen onto the screen, but it's not going to go back right. It's kind of annoying that you have to keep dragging it back over to do this. So what we can do, go ahead and duplicate that particular one. I'm going to call this, let's call this goofy face off, because that's essentially what we're doing, right? It's just off the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab that face and shift it off to the side, scroll down and get the transformation. Now that I have this, if I click the on, it shoots onto screen. If I click the off, it shoots off the screen. So that's one way that I can turn it off. And here's another way that you can turn it off as well. I'm gonna call this big face small, or goofy face small, excuse me. Then instead of having it go off the screen, I'm gonna make this super teeny tiny, just super teeny tiny. It's kind of hard to tell if it's actually like super teeny tiny. So what you can do is down here in the Get Transformation tab, I'm actually gonna go ahead and say Get Transformation. See right here where it says Scale? I'm actually gonna set the scale to 0 on both of these. I'm gonna set the position to about the middle of the screen because that's kind of where I want it to be at. You can also edit this directly inside of here where you can physically just go in and type in where you want it to be. So if you know where you want sources to be at, you can go ahead and just type them right in here. So again, all I did was just simply set the scale to 0 and I set the position to where I wanted the position to go. Now, when I click the small one, I just kind of vanish out of existence. But when something happens in chat triggers like a chat command, I grow up, and then I can make myself small. But again, right, it's not fun that you have to be the one that clicks through all this type of stuff. So once again, let's go back to Touch Portal. And inside Touch Portal here, let's go ahead and make a brand new button. I'm gonna call this Goofy Face. This is just the Goofy Face thing that we're working on. Over on the left-hand side, again, we're gonna grab the scene filter. And this will be for the scene because that's just what that scene's called. And I wanna make this Goofy Face big, and I'm gonna have it turn that filter on. Nothing else happens after that. All I did is just simply get it big, but nothing else happens. So here's something that we can do is I'm gonna add a wait. I'm gonna add a wait for timer, and I'm gonna have it wait for 100 milliseconds, which is 1 second. You could also change it to seconds in this dialog if you wanted to. Now, once I have this 1 second delay here, I want the Goofy Face to just disappear. So what I can do is right click on that filter, hit copy, paste it, and now I have it underneath here. So what I can do, instead of having the Goofy Face big, I can have it do Goofy Face small, or Goofy Face off, or whatever else, however else you wanted to animate this thing in or off or onto the screen. You can do that as you're off. And the reason I don't typically like doing the reverse is that I've had it where if my OBS closes while it's mid-action of doing something, it stays there, and then I have to reset it every single time. You're making yourself like a get-out-of-jail-free card with having a second filter that actually moves it off the screen. So if something ever happens, you can always just reset it with the filter. So once that's done, go ahead and hit save. Now we have the Goofy Face one, and now if I test that button, it'll come up, sit there for a second, and go away. So it's a really easy way that if you want to be able to have like chat control something, that's how you can do it. Is it just whoop, whoop, and it goes away. Now let's go ahead and take a look at like what I would call like level 3. A combination of moving a camera, moving a source on the screen, and also I'm going to show you the move value filter that's inside of this. So let's go ahead and start with actually showing that move value off. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this camera full screened again. Now I'm going to add into the actual face cam filters, I'm going to add an effect filter, and I'm going to add a crop pad. What this will allow for is I can actually effectively change. Once I do this here, I can change how much is cropped. This is another way you can do crops. Instead of holding Alt, you can do it this way. And this is again just to show off what move value is truly doing. So I'm gonna go back into this again, and I'm gonna do another 350 on the other side there. Give myself like a nice vertical cam. You know, let's do 400. Why not? 400 there, 400 on the other side. We'll make this real nice and vertical here. To me, that's looking pretty good. I have 400 on the left, 400 on the right. Go ahead and hit the add button again and hit the move value. Once the move value is in here, you can see here that it's looking for a filter and nothing selected. So we're gonna grab the crop pad, and I'm gonna deselect single setting. Now inside of here, you can see that we have left, top, right, and bottom. This is essentially the same settings that was inside that crop pad, right? So this move value is actually going to be the one that creates this vertical camera effect. So I'm going to use 400 and 400, or you could type it in, or you can just simply hit get values. It's very similar to the move source, except this time move value is moving values within other filters. So now that we have it set to 400, 400, I'm just going to change the custom delay to 500 so it's not quite as snappy. I'm going to leave the ease in and out the same, and then you'll notice that the rest of these are very similar to the move source transitions, to the move source filters. So now we have all that there. I'm actually going to go ahead and rename this particular filter. I'm going to rename this Cam Crop On. And I bet you can all take a guess of what the next one will be, which is going to be Cam Crop Off. Again, I like to always make kind of a get out of jail free card for myself. I'm going to set this to 0 and 0. And that's only because of the fact I want it to basically turn the crop off. So if I zoom out here and I go ahead and do the Cam Crop Off, you can see that I kind of re-expand again. And if I turn that filter back on, I go back down. So there's two ways that you can basically crop yourself. Now I like using the move values because you can kind of use it in conjunction with other stuff down the line. Feel free to experiment and have fun with this. This is kind of the whole point of showing these off, is you can get different ideas of like, oh, what if I could do this or do that? Have fun and, you know, get at it, really. We have this cam pad that just got turned on, and I'm going to go ahead and set up another filter inside of this one. Let's actually look what this looks like. Yeah, I had a feeling I was just going to disappear because I already had the cam crops on. Now, if you use the crop pad with the cropping from that alt drag that I was showing you earlier, you might just disappear, which is what happened there. So I'm going to go ahead and make a brand new move source, and I'm going to call this pre-cropped left side. So inside of that pre-cropped left, I'm going to go ahead and change the source back to face cam. I'm going to set that custom duration again to 500. I'm going to go ahead and position the camera itself to a better spot. And what I actually want this to do is kind of sit in the middle of the screen here, a little bit taller. And you know what? I think that looks pretty good right there. Let's center this vertically. So I'm going to go to transform. I'm going to go to center vertically. That looks pretty good. And once we're there with all this, I'm going to go ahead and hit get transformation. We have a perfectly dead centered on the left-hand side here. And that's all that I want with this one here. Because if I want to go big boy camera, or if I want to go the pre-cropped left, I was like, yep, that looked like a 5-second one. 500 milliseconds. There we go. Sometimes it's really easy to accidentally, you know, fat finger an extra number in there. So don't worry about it if you do. If something seems like it takes too long, there's probably just an extra 0 someplace. So now that this is done, what I want to be able to do is basically take it from full size camera all the way down over to here, while at the exact same time, that goofy picture pops up. And this is where Touch Portal will really come in handy with this. So like, let's say this was like a game. Instead of a goofy picture, you had a game source there, right? You're animating your game source to that full size. This is kind of the idea that I'm trying to show here with this. I'm gonna call this one, actually, let's call this gameplay position. Once we're inside here, again, we just have a gameplay position. Let's scroll down to the OBS section. Inside of OBS, we're gonna go ahead and grab ourselves a scene filter. And this is again for the standard scene. And we're gonna take ourselves from the big boy camera, we're gonna go ahead and bring ourselves down to the pre-cropped left-hand side. We're also gonna then grab a source filter. We're gonna grab the face cam. We're gonna grab the filter, and this is gonna be the cam crop on. Because remember, we wanna take ourselves from this big camera and then squeeze ourselves down onto this other side over here. So that's exactly what we're setting up right now. Then I'm gonna add a wait timer, because I want those two things to kind of happen pretty simultaneously. I'm gonna give it about a second here. What I'm gonna go ahead and grab next then is I'll go back to the OBS. I'm gonna grab another scene filter, and I'm gonna animate my gameplay in, where in this case, it's our goofy face. So I'm gonna grab the goofy face big, I'm gonna turn that on, and I'm gonna hit save. Let's make sure all this works. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the crop cam that I have on my face cam here, and I'm just gonna hit the crop cam off. And because I already have a big boy cam here, I can go ahead and hit big boy cam, and this is reset everything so we can try it out. So let's go ahead and hit the gameplay position. And there you go. So now we've applied a move value to our face cam, a move source to the face cam to get us to position, and then we applied another move source to our gameplay, if you want to call that goofy face gameplay. But these are the type of things that you can do. If you have multiple game captures that you have, whether you have like a desktop capture from you want to show your windows, game capture, or like a, you know, maybe you're playing a Switch or a console that you have over there, you could technically have all three captures ready to go, and you could actually have them slide up into place. Just make sure that if you're capturing one thing, turn off all of the others, just kind of as a word of caution, because otherwise it's going to use a lot of the power on your computer there. I hope this gives you some ideas of what you can actually use these plugins for. I've been using this plugin for probably the better part of a year now, and I've learned a lot from it, and I'm really excited to kind of show off a lot of the stuff that I've been able to create with it, and then kind of pass that knowledge down to all of you, because this is, you just kind of have to take the time and play around with this stuff here. So again, please go check out Exceldro. He's done so many just amazing filters for the OBS community, and happy creating with this one. I really enjoy actually using this type of a plugin here, because it's just, I don't know, it's just fun to me. So if you have any questions, please let me know down below. I will try and get back to every single one of them there. If you like the video, leave a like, and if you want to see more of this type of stuff, I plan on covering just about every OBS plugin that's out there, and then kind of giving you some examples, some level ups of where you can take each one of these. If you have something specific you'd like to see, let me know as well. So otherwise, happy creating, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care everybody. Love ya. Bye.